Good afternoon, I'm Celeste Haslam and welcome to Winchester News Online. Coming up today, anti-immigration protesters in Southampton. Sunnyfields Farm received a visit from some VIPs. And cosy up for a walk through Winchester's poetic history. People gathered in Southampton last weekend as part of a nationwide series of protests over immigration. While organisers called for stricter border controls, others in the city voiced concerns about rising tension around the issue. Our reporter Alexia Pittercas went there to find out more.
Chants echoed down in Highfield Lane as protesters gathered in Southampton as part of a wave of anti-immigration protests seen across the UK this weekend. The marchers here said they're standing up for border controls and British values. Many here said they feel unsafe.
To a local lady, and she said it's not safe to even go to Sainsbury's.
Really, it was for the women and children.
They can break into our country, get hotels, get free food, get our NHS. It's ridiculous.
According to Home Office data, more than 100,011 applied for asylum in the UK in the year to June 2025, a 14% increase on last year. And this summer, Channel crossings passed 25,000 faster than any previous year since records began.
People in the hotel are perfectly all right. No trouble to us at all.
An anti-racism counter-protest also gathered nearby, coming within about 50 meters of the main march on Portsmouth Road. Officers said their priority was to keep both groups apart and ensure safety. 1,000 people took part, 600 in the anti-racism march and 400 in the anti-immigration protest. As these protests continue, they underline how the argument over immigration isn't just being fought in Parliament, but on Britain's streets in towns like Southampton. For now, attention may be on today's protest, but the policies shaping immigration are likely to remain a defining issue nationwide. Alexia Pittercas, Winchester News Online.
October marks Domestic Violence Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness and support those affected by abuse. Here in the UK, around 2.3 million adults experienced domestic abuse last year. That's roughly 1 in 20 people, and many cases still go unreported. Now we're joined by our Home Affairs correspondent, Francesca Pritchard. Those are worrying figures, Francesca. What do they tell us about the scale of the problem here in the UK?
The figures show that domestic abuse is far more common than people realising. It can and does affect people of all different backgrounds. However, women are most at risk, with 1.6 million women experiencing domestic abuse in the UK, compared to 700,000 men. Approximately 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence within their lifetime, and every 30 seconds a call is made to the police concerning domestic abuse in the UK.
So what can community do to help prevent abuse and support victims?
The key is awareness and action. Recognise the signs, listen without judgment, and know where to signpost people for support. And most importantly, everybody is responsible for recognising abusive behaviours. Locally in Winchester, you can turn to Hampshire Advice Centre for more support and confidential help.
Thank you, Francesca. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, you can also contact the Refuge National Domestic Abuse Helpline on 0808 200 247. It's free, confidential and open 24 hours a day. The clocks went back again over the weekend, which means the days are getting shorter and darker as winter is nearing. Although Winchester is statistically one of the safest cities in the UK, crime still exists. Isabel Jones finds out the importance of staying safe on Winchester's streets at night.
Has there been a daylight robbery? First the Louvre and now the clock. It's official, we've lost another hour. While some fear seasonal depression and lack of vitamin D, in Winchester some fear for their safety. Earlier this year, a chief inspector claimed that the number of criminal incidents at night has risen by 3.66%. Hampshire Constabulary have disclosed that the top reported crime includes violence and sexual offences. So in Winchester, how safe do the public feel?
Sometimes I'll have a shift at work and I'm not finishing until midnight, and having to walk home from that does feel a bit more unsafe.
I mean, you can't see broken glass in front of you, certain roads you can't take because there's just be creeps, some of the dark alleyways and all that. And when I'm coming back from work, I don't get back until 5 in the morning, and you can't even see where the curb ends and where the road begins.
The winter months obviously is getting darker earlier, so I'm walking home more in the dark, which means I guess I'm feeling a bit more unsafe.
Prior to COVID, Hampshire County Council issued a change meaning that street lamps like these are turned off between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. in hopes to save money. Now, local councillor David Harrison argues that the fact these lights are turned off at night doesn't actually affect crime rates. However, if you were to speak to a local Winchester resident, they may say different, as they believe they would feel a lot safer if these were on throughout the night. And in a place like this, well, it is eerily dark, isn't it? In hopes of making Winchester feel safer, there have been avenues taken to support young people on their nighttime endeavours.
I always promote that people go home together, whether you're, no matter what gender you are. It's not just for women, because I know that obviously it's emphasised for women, but anybody, just making sure that they get home with somebody or in a taxi, because that's safer than walking home alone.
So whilst it gets colder and darker over the next few months, stay safe, stay aware and stay alert. Isabel Jones, Winchester News Online.
People in Winchester say the cost of living crisis is hitting harder than ever, with rising rents, food prices and bills leaving many struggling to cope. Cameron Braddock's report highlights how local charities have been helping within the community.
Inflation may be steady, but for families in Winchester, the struggle is still ongoing. Winchester food banks are now supporting more people than ever before. Teachers, carers, even small business owners. Proof that a cost of living crisis doesn't just affect the most vulnerable in our society.
I'm at Winchester Basic Bank, where every week volunteers are helping local people struggling to make ends meet. I've been talking to the team here about why this place is more than just food parcels, but a community coming together to help one another.
Hi, I'm Mary. I've been involved with Basics Bank since I retired in 2017, and after a couple of years I became a trustee or director of the charity, as we call it. I've been involved ever since then, all the way through COVID, which was a bit of a hairy time, but a time of expansion when we realised all of the increased need in the community for what we do, which is providing food and basic equipment, kitchen equipment, clothing, as well as hygiene products and cleaning materials for houses. So anything you could really need in your household, which might help people who are struggling on their current income.
The team at Winchester Basics Bank is quietly doing life-changing work, making sure no one in our community goes hungry. Operations manager Angus Kirk, who runs the food bank, opened up about the countless hours of dedication behind the scenes. Every effort made to bring hope, support and a meal to those who need it most.
I think the first time anyone feels the need to reach out and ask for help, there is a question, there is a problem with, let's say, the stigma of it, the embarrassment of it. We are here. This is what we do. So, we want to help people. That's what we're here for.
For many, the rising cost of living isn't just a number, it's a daily struggle. But there are places like Winchester Basics Bank quietly working to make sure no one has to face it alone. Cameron Braddock, Winol News, Winchester.
Trade agreements have been the headlines over in North America this week, as Donald Trump has announced an additional 10% tariff on goods imported to the US from Canada. The move by the American president comes in response to an anti-tariff advertisement aired in the Canadian province of Ontario, which featured former US President Ronald Reagan. Our American correspondent Ethan Vine has more from Illinois. Good morning, Ethan.
Hi Celeste, thank you. Yeah, tariffs have really been a staple with this second term. President Trump's wanted to re-establish US independence and a dominance in the global trade market. So these tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods that the importer has to pay for their goods to be sold in another country, Canada being the latest on the receiving end of these. Now, channels in Ontario aired an advert featuring an old speech from the President Ronald Reagan in which he said tariffs hurt every American. Those were his words, but Ronald Reagan's foundation has since said that it misrepresents his message. Trump called the advert a fraud and has since levied these tariffs. Now, Canada's the only G7 country yet to reach a trade deal with Trump, and there's already a 35% flat tariff on Canadian goods. This is now set to rise to 45%.
And what does this mean for US residents like yourself?
Well, the tax that goes onto these imported goods typically ends up falling on the consumer. So anyone here wanting to buy Canadian goods in the States will likely be paying more for those goods. It does, however, encourage Americans to buy American products and for Canada to look at trade deals elsewhere, but it does start to steepen tensions between the North American giants.
What does it mean for us in the UK?
Well, it doesn't affect the UK directly. It's strictly a policy here between Canada and the United States. And tariff agreements between the UK and the US already exist. The state taxes 10% on most products, including cars. And there's an economic prosperity deal agreed in May. But this is between the nations, and that kind of limits the impacts of tariffs imposed on the UK. Canada, however, is part of the G7, as I mentioned earlier, which is a group that includes the UK. These strong economies come together to discuss trade deals, etc. And so a weakening relationship between two members of that, United States and Canada, who have historically been really well linked. You know, Canada's 3/4 of Canada's exports go to the US. So a weakening relationship between the two doesn't spell great news for the global economy.
Thanks, Ethan. Coming up next, Amelia speaks with the mature students, Kieran tells us about the return of the Poppy Appeal, and Emily catches up with Winchester Journalism's very own graduates. But first, an annual study has found only 1 in 3 young people are reading for their own enjoyment, and experts' concerns are growing about what this will mean for future generations. Mia Lawton explains further.
Reading used to be a daily activity for children, but today, fewer are reading and the numbers are falling fast. Over the last 2 years, the National Literacy Trust has recorded the lowest levels of reading for enjoyment in 2 decades. Between the ages of 8 to 18, only 1 in 3 people claim that they read for fun, and only 1 in 5 claim they read on a daily basis. So, why are young people reading less, and what impact is this going to have on the next generation? Reading impacts everything: vocabulary, confidence, creativity, and even empathy. With the popularity of social media being at an all-time high, reading is becoming less enticing and more like a chore. Amid the concern, book clubs, reading challenges, and community initiatives are aimed at getting reading books into young people's daily routines.
We work with schools to organise and supply author events where authors go into schools and talk to the kids directly and talk about their books and get them really engaged, and I see that have such a great effect.
Many in the study claimed if they were to read, they'd prefer audiobooks, comic books, fan fictions, and even song lyrics. 2 in 5 of them said they were more motivated to read when it was related to their favourite film or TV series. For reading rates to recover, evidence shows it will take a cultural push. Families, schools, publishers and the government need to work together to make reading more fun, relevant and accessible. Mia Lawton, Winchester News Online.
Now, with Remembrance Day just a few weeks away, the 2025 Poppy Appeal has been launched. Our reporter Kieran Tibbett is down in Winchester to tell us more.
I'm here at Winchester Cathedral in front of the War Memorial, and in just a week's time, personnel, veterans and families will be gathering here for a service of remembrance on Remembrance Sunday. On the lead up, the Royal British Legion has launched its Poppy Appeal across the country. Poppies can be bought in restaurants, in shops and online too. Last year, over 32 million poppies were distributed and sold in the UK alone. I'm joined by Chris Hayward, who's managing the Poppy Appeal for the North Hampshire area. Chris, tell us what it means to wear a poppy.
Well, wearing a poppy during this remembrance time shows that you care. It's a national symbol of remembrance, and it shows the armed forces community that you appreciate everything that they do, and that's, you know, them staying away from their families, potentially risking their lives. That could be in conflict, it could be in humanitarian disasters, or it could be on peacekeeping missions.
And how will the funds raised be used to help people?
Well, the Royal British Legion supports those who serve and veterans and their families, and that can be anything from short-term crisis relief to long-term support throughout their lives. It's physical and mental rehabilitation. It's also financial support, housing support, and through our RBL membership we can offer support from the transition from service life to civilian life, and also to help them reconnect with people who have similar experiences.
Thanks, Chris. Every donation counts, and everyone is encouraged to wear their poppy at this time of year.
Thanks, Kieran. If you'd like to find out more or support the appeal, visit the Winol website. Now, one of the city's best-known restaurants has finally reopened its kitchen. 4 months after an electrical fire forced it to close back in June, our reporter Jack Williams has been finding out how the eatery has bounced back and what this reopening means for both customers and the local food scene.
Winchester's Forte Kitchen has been a staple of the city's brunch scene for years, but just a few months ago it came dangerously close to being lost forever. In June, a fire broke out in the early hours of the morning, tearing through the building and forcing the restaurant to close its doors immediately.
So it was early hours of the morning that my phone was going, and I was just very confused. I sort of picked up the phone, and it was one of those heart-stopping moments where it's like, oh, this is the Hampshire and Isle of Wight fire rescue team. And basically they said, are you the owner of Forte Kitchen in Winchester? And then my heart dropped and I was like, yes, well, yeah, I'm the director. And they're like, there's a fire, can you come immediately? You enter the building and it was all ruined, and you just think, we've just got through COVID, we've just got through the energy crisis and all of these things, and then it was just awful. It was a horrible moment.
4 months on, the flames are out and Forte Kitchen is back, but the reopening hasn't been easy.
Things as the outpouring of love and support from the community has been just wonderful. I couldn't believe it when we had to post about it, and sort of just the amount of people from everywhere who were so wonderful just made me really grateful for the community we live in.
From devastation to determination, this story is one of resilience and a reminder that even after the toughest of setbacks, you can always rebuild. Jack Williams, Winchester News Online.
With Halloween fast approaching, the annual Pumpkin Time event at Sunnyfields Farm has been attracting more people than ever this year. With their pumpkin mural being of the late Ozzy Osbourne, they've even attracted a few famous faces, with the whole Osbourne family making their way to the farm. As well as the amount of visitors breaking their own records, they also have a world record-breaking pumpkin. Emily Byway went to find out just how big the event really is this year.
Sunnyfields Farm hosts its Pumpkin Time event each year. This year has been truly record-breaking. The Pumpkin Time event at Sunnyfields Farm has so much to offer. This year they have a world record-breaking pumpkin, having won 2 world records for being the largest and heaviest pumpkin on planet Earth. They also have a mural that changes each year. This year, the mural was chosen by the public on their social media. Ozzy Osbourne was the clear winner following his death this year. The Osbourne family have even been down to the farm to pay the mural a visit.
They were on the site for just over an hour. They just came to our back of house deliveries area. Then we spent about an hour walking around the site. They actually surprised us. They went up the pyramid, they went in the glow trail, in the immersive rooms. We also put them up in a telehandler quite high so they could see the Aussie mural from above. So I thought they were just going to sort of have a look, thank us and leave, but they had no security and they just walked around as like any normal family.
The mural changes each year, with this year's decision being made by the power of social media. The farm offers so much during spooky season, with an interactive room, glow trail, as well as the opportunity to pick your own pumpkin.
I think it's really cool. I think it's, like I was just saying, I think it's really good value as well. Like, there's loads of stuff here to do for everybody, and obviously the artwork that goes into it as well is amazing.
We're just really excited to come and get in like the autumn spirit. And we've been before, but we're like metalheads and we love heavy metal, so we're obviously definitely going to pop along and see the Aussie mural.
It's my first time at a pumpkin patch ever, so I didn't know what to expect, but like it's a lot to take in, but it's beautiful.
We've got 2 large pumpkins, one of them which is the world record pumpkin. This is probably the 6th year that we've had their pumpkins at the event. So they're about 60 years old and they started when they're 14, twins called Ian and Stuart Payton. So they've been growing it for decades and decades, trying to get the world record, and it was only a few weeks ago that we found out that they would get the world record.
With an increase in size in not just pumpkins, but also visitor numbers, the farm will be looking to keep up with this growth next year. Emily Byway, Winchester News Online.
In the UK, a mature university student is classed as anyone who begins university after a break from full-time education. Most institutions class this as anyone aged 21 and over. Out of all undergraduate students, 48% are classed as mature. Our reporter Amelia Madden went to speak to a mature student about her experience at university.
The first term of uni is underway for freshers. However, for some, this experience may differ. I spoke to some mature students about their experience starting fresh at a new uni. How would you compare your first uni experience to the one you have now?
It's very different from the first time I did it. I changed pathways and careers. So at first I took music as my degree, and the modules are immediately different to media and communications now. And I'd say it's far better doing media and communications at Winchester.
In 2024, over 50,000 mature students from the UK accepted a place at university. What advice would you give to someone else in the position that you were in, wanting to change unis?
I'd say that changing your choices and I guess career path really sometimes is beneficial. I think in my mind I saw music as not a very promising career, and I think logically it was the best for me because I thought of more promising job opportunities within media and everything like that. So for me it is a better job opportunity in that way.
Amelia Madden, Winchester News Online.
Graduation, a time students have been idolising for years, with everyone aiming to be best dressed as they walk the stage and looking forward to seeing their classmates again. It's not just the students who receive their degrees this week. A few famous faces made an appearance at the cathedral. Emily Byway hunted down a recipient of the honorary fellowship.
Students at the University of Winchester spent the last week receiving their degrees after years of hard work.
Graduation is a day students look forward to throughout their entire university career. For these graduates today, it's time to celebrate their successes and the hard work that went into achieving those grades, and celebrate moving towards life beyond their university career.
I'm really proud of the fact that I've graduated today. I've done 3 years of hard work with this degree in politics.
I'm so happy I have my degree. This is my second time graduating, as now I'm a qualified teacher, and yeah, I'm just so happy.
So good to see everyone again. It's been such a long time.
So excited because it's been so long coming. It's taken me 4 years to get my teaching qualifications.
Yes, I'm very excited. I can't believe it's finally here.
It's been a tough year, but it's nice to be here now and celebrate with everyone.
I've gone back to education as an adult. I've done, all my GCSEs, A-levels, done my degrees. So to come here and that sort of full circle journey to receive this award today is a huge privilege. But not only that, but to get to speak to so many incredible young people. I think if I could leave sort of a little bit of advice would be I try to live by what I call my ABC rule, and I think it's a good one for graduates as well, because A for me is about attitude. It's about having the right attitude, whatever life throws at you, wherever you go in the world, because attitude will take you a long way, and people will give you a chance. B is for building relationships, make friends everywhere you go, speak to people, learn from other people, and C is about continuing to learn. It's continued professional development.
Along with Jordan, there were a number of honorary recipients, including Dr. Liz Reardon and Katie Piper. The cathedral was blooming with families and friends joining the graduates to celebrate. Emily Byway, Winchester News Online.
The deadline for the National Poetry Society's annual competition is drawing near, and Winchester has its own rich history of the art. Now grab your hot chocolate, sit back and relax to enjoy Maeve Corbett as they give us a small glimpse into the past.
While barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue, then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn, among the river sallows, borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind lives or dies.
It's the autumn of 1819, and poet John Keats is once again taking his morning walk. From Winchester Cathedral, passing the house that author Jane Austen had died in just 2 years before, and towards St. Catherine's Hill and the Hospital of St. Cross.
All landmarks we pass by daily, and yet they inspired one of his most famous works, Ode to Autumn.
And I think for a modern audience, even Keats with his very flowery, kind of unctuous, oozy sort of language, it's very descriptive, and so it helps people see things that they wouldn't otherwise see, and helps, I think, to see the beauty in things. When he's talking about this walk, he says the weather was so beautiful, and it inspired me to compose, and the weather is chaste, beautiful blue skies and all the rest of it. So it's quite upbeat. And he says actually that autumn is in ways warmer than spring.
There are many regard to autumn as an ode to death, almost a foreshadowing of the illness that would soon take Keats's own life. Perhaps it is more bittersweet than pure misery. Even the poem subtly reminds us, spring will come once more, as will life and colour. For now we can wrap up warm and wait until the days get long. Maeve Corbett, Winchester News Online.
And that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.